Three, two, one. Welcome to this episode of Intellectual Conservatism. Today I am here with three pro-life activists. All of these women are incredible. They are right now on the university field. They are going to be talking to us today about some of the work that they've been doing and also some of the controversy that has been happening at their college. So this is going to be a very fascinating discussion. It's a nice break from what I usually talk about. Sometimes I do hardcore philosophy debates. This time we're actually going to talk to people on the ground about what they've been experiencing and what they've seen firsthand. So I'll have each of these women just introduce themselves. And, could you guys talk a little bit about yourselves, right? So what are you studying, your backgrounds, help the audience know where you're coming from. Let's start with maybe Clarissa, and then we'll go around.
Hi, my name is Clarissa. First of all, it's an honor to be here. I know this is different from your usual content, so thank you so much for having us. I was born and raised in Minnesota, where I live with my parents and my older brothers. I wound up at college here in the Boston area pretty unexpectedly, and I'm currently a sophomore studying biology. And with that degree, I hope to go into the environmental conservation field when I'm older, because I'm a big nature enthusiast, and I'm also an artist in my free time. And this activism stuff is pretty new to me, but it's been taking up a lot of my time lately, and it's been going great.
Yeah. So it's, when your parents might have heard about, you guys doing this sort of thing, were they kind of worried like, oh, you need to stay focused on your studies, or were they kind of like, this is great? They were really supportive.
My mom was supportive, but she didn't understand why it was such a big deal to me. When I
Yeah.
told her about all the backlash we got, she said, well, it's not worth it. I think you kind of have to be in college to understand why it is worth it. So she's a little worried.
Yeah. Yeah. I know my parents are they're going to kind of be like, Swan, you should be focusing on your studies, not doing this whole channel too much, but I think we're all managing pretty well. So, Diese?
Yes, yeah.
All right. Could you
Uh,
introduce yourself as well?
yeah, my name is Diese. I was born in Burundi, but I grew up in New Hampshire with my family. I have three siblings, an older sister and two younger brothers. And I'm also a sophomore. I'm hoping to major in economics or data science. I don't know yet. I don't really know my career path after college. But I'm very passionate about social justice issues, especially women's rights issues in other parts of the world.
All right. Thank you. And Lizzie.
Hi, I'm Lizzie. I was born and raised in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I'm also a sophomore, and I'm thinking about studying psychology or economics. I'm very involved with my church. My dad is a pastor, and my mom is a Bible study teacher. And I'm very involved with the Christian Fellowship group on campus. Social justice work is very important to me, and it's something I've done throughout high school and now in college. So thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, no problem. So I can kind of see, from all your backgrounds, why this subject really matters to you, right? It kind of intersects with all the areas that you discussed. So can someone explain what exactly happened at your college, right? So who can give me the rundown of the events and so forth, and how bad was the liberal response?
Okay, before we get into story, it's good to have a background. So this whole started in the beginning of this year. I had the idea to start a pro-life group on campus after going, I don't know if you know what Students for Life of America is, but I went on their website and it really gave me an idea to start why not start a club on our campus. And I met Clarissa and Emma, who's another member who wasn't able to be here through a college Republican meeting, and met Lizzie through the Christian Fellowship group on campus, and we just came together over the summer to try to make to do all the necessary work we need to get our club official.
Yeah, so after all this planning, then a few weeks ago, we all posted on each of our class Facebook pages, just introducing our potential club and inviting everyone to our first open meeting. And at our school, a lot of clubs, they start recruiting through these Facebook pages, and most students are in these pages. So literally within 2 minutes of posting, we began receiving hundreds of negative comments on our page and on the Wellesley for Life Facebook page. The backlash included a threat to flood our first Zoom meeting with a mob of pro-choice students to basically harass us. And we took this very seriously. So we were careful to only give the Zoom meeting link to people who we trusted. And luckily our first meeting was not Zoom bombed by a bunch of people. Yeah, some students made memes and TikToks about they're just mocking pro-lifers. Some posted screenshots of $100+ donations to Planned Parenthood in our name. Some were especially nasty, joking about offering free socially distanced abortions in the quad, or posting pictures of fetuses and making fun of them, or posting links to nearby abortion clinics. Yeah, and this online drama really spilled onto Instagram and Twitter as well. And it was really very cliche, repetitive, emotionally driven pro-choice arguments, and they're filled with swearing and accusations that our org is, quote, violent and shouldn't be allowed to exist on campus. And anyone who tried to defend us in any way in the comments also got attacked. And yeah, this response was very overwhelming, but unfortunately it didn't really surprise us. From our experiences last year as first years, we knew the backlash that we would face when we started this organization, and we figured a lot of other schools might have reacted this way too. So
Yeah, and just to provide some clarification, right? Somebody might say, well, you guys knew that this was going to be the response, so why did you go in anyway? But as you explained, this is kind of the Facebook group that you went to, right, or the page or whatever, to advertise on campus. And because you're attempting to be a campus organization, this is just the way to go about doing it, right? So is that kind of like the background on that situation?
yeah, that's pretty much what happened. And we saw all these other orgs before us, recruiting their org and introducing new orgs. And then as soon as we did, we've never seen this kind of response from the Wellesley community before.
All right, Clarissa, do you have anything to add?
No, I think that was like a perfect summary.
Okay, so the liberal response, it was kind of expected, but still pretty bad, pretty shocking, right? I just want to ask you, why do you think liberals tend to be so hostile to pro-life individuals, towards pro-life activists? Like, if we could try and be charitable, despite them not being charitable to us, if we could try to be charitable, what would you imagine is going through their mind, right? Or how do you think they see you at this moment?
Um, I think that the reason people were so hostile towards us specifically is, and I mean this with all due respect because I've been there, I think it gives them a sense of self-importance to paint us as the enemy because they can play the role of the activist. And so they purposely over dramatize whatever the problem is. Like, for example, they suggest that some forms of free speech is literally violence and that therefore our club's very existence is somehow threatening the student body, because then it makes them feel like they're doing something really important when really it's just bashing their classmates on Facebook comments. And I used to kind of have that mindset too. And more generally, I think that a lot of the hostility just comes from a place of ignorance. I think that a lot of pro-choices are legitimately hurt because they hold this misconception that the pro-life movement is misogynistic, right? But the issue is that they don't even want to listen to the opposition, and they continue thinking that we're all about controlling women and judging women who have had abortions when it's really just about standing up for what's right. I mean, I think it's a moral debate more than a political one, but they associate being pro-life with being Republican, and then they go to associate it with all their misguided beliefs that Republicans are like racist, homophobic, sexist, etc. And I mean, in reality, there's plenty of liberals who are pro-life, and there's plenty of secular-minded people who are pro-life too. And honestly, I think that some of the hostility might come from a place of denial or shame. Maybe some of these people have had abortions, or they know someone who has, and they're scared of questioning their beliefs because it could potentially lead to the conclusion that abortion is wrong. And so my heart goes out to everyone. I try to have compassion. It's hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious it's a very difficult subject. Lizzie or Diese, do you have anything to add to that?
Oh, I think Clarissa covered it really well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's we're trying to, approach this in a very respectful way. We understand that there's a lot of people who disagree with us, but we're just trying to get the conversation going. Just because, as soon as we brought up this topic, then we were immediately torn down and hated on, basically. So we're not trying to start a war or anything. We're just trying to get the conversation about this topic going on campus. Yeah.
Speaking of campus, then, how did the university respond to the whole situation? Did they get involved, or, if they did, what did they exactly do? Did they do anything, really?
No, the college did not respond at all, and there was really never an expectation that they would support us in any way. Like on a lot of the subjects on campus, they do take more of a liberal stance and everything. Like all of everything on campus life and our education is very politicized. Like college, it's called classroom discussions, to some of the church services we have, the emails we get, everything is very one-sided. So we did not expect them to defend us in any way, and they haven't defended us in any way.
And what has it been like? Have they responded to you at all about whether or not your organization has been recognized yet? Is it taking longer than usual, or how's that dynamic?
The recognition process is actually going really smoothly, fortunately, and we should probably get recognized within like the next couple of weeks. So that's been great, thankfully. Yeah.
All right, that's good. All right.
Yeah.
Did you? Okay, so I noticed that you also said that there were some people who responded positively, though, but they were also attacked. And I think Clarissa, she emailed me that there were actually positive responses, but they were given anonymously or personally to each of you rather than made in public. So what kind of response did you receive, and from whom even?
Yeah, so it was a good handful of positive responses we received from people. These were really what encouraged us and kept us going. There were supportive private messages agreeing with our pro-life stance, really commending us for our bravery. And several students would reach out saying, "Hi, we've never met before, but thank you so much for starting this organization. I wish I was as brave as you." And one student even said that she had been wanting to start a pro-life club on campus for several years, but she was just too afraid of the reaction she would get from, quote, the mob, is what she called it, on campus. And that she figured there weren't any students who were interested in joining anyways. So all these messages of support and encouragement were all private because the students were genuinely scared of being socially cast out, and who could blame them seeing the reaction that we got for posting on Facebook. So yeah, I mean, I'm scared too. I am genuinely scared, but I realized that I needed to stand up for what I believe in, and someone has to. I feel like this culture of fear cannot, reign forever on campus. So it was these private messages that really encouraged us, and just to know that there were others on campus who felt the same way as us. Yeah.
And if I remember properly too, there were even some pro-choice individuals, like people who disagreed with you, who said, "Yeah, I mean, we support your right at least to express your opinion and to be recognized on campus." Is that correct?
Yeah, that's very correct. We got even a couple of students who were like, there was one student who said that she would help us if we ever need help, if the college did not help, decide to get us recognized. And even though she did not support our cause at all, she just wanted us to be able to have free speech and to be able to express our opinions on the college campus.
Yeah, she was awesome. She's like a college free speech activist, and she said she had like legal connections, and basically she could threaten to sue the college if they don't recognize us. And she's like super pro-choice. So.
That's a pretty nice resource, yeah.
Yeah.
And I know, Lizzie, you said that you're quite terrified, right, of the whole situation, and how everyone reacted. But what has given all of you, right, the courage to endure through all of this? I mean, I know Clarissa and even Lizzie and Diese, right, you all talked about this conviction that you had, that you can't let the mob just run the university or even control the discourse, right? You have to stand up for your beliefs. So what gave you the courage to continue going through all of this despite what's happened?
Well, besides how passionate we are about protecting unborn life, it's just how you said, like, I realized how much people need our organization. pro-life students or anyone with any type of conservative beliefs are legitimately scared just to speak their minds. Like, I have very real and intense fear sometimes in my social life and in the classroom. And this fear makes people feel the need to stay silent just because they have an unpopular opinion. So what really motivated me the most is just being able to create a space for students who are pro-life and probably felt very alone in that belief to finally be able to speak freely and meet like-minded people.
Yeah, in a way, also for people who are on the other side, it's very helpful for them because there's a huge, like, we have a huge concern for our school that it's like an echo chamber. There's like a widespread belief here that everyone here is liberal, everyone here is pro-choice, but that's like simply not true. And we really want the students to understand that and really be able to face real opposition like that happens in the real world, and know that like not every college campus has like the belief that every college campus has like pro-choice and liberal people is just simply not true, and it's worth it to really keep the diversity of thought alive on our campus.
Yeah, and what's also really sustained me personally and all of us is the support and lots of prayers from our family and friends, and just trusting in God for his leading throughout this whole process. It's really encouraging to know that there are so many people rooting for us, even if they're kind of behind the scenes, if they're not, ready to be as vocal about this topic. Yeah, it's just really comforting to know that they're rooting for us, and we're just trying to create, the safe space for other students who feel like they're being essentially bullied into silence for having different opinions. And we really see the need for an organization like this on campus. And there's no room for contradictory opinions on our campus. There's no dialogue going on. So the reason why we're here at university is to expand our worldview and to be open-minded and to find the courage to stand up for what we believe in. So yeah, it's really been encouraging for all of us.
I'm just interested too, like, when you go to class, I presume everything's online for all of you, unless some of you might have in-person classes, but socially distanced, right? Okay. Has anyone like kind of noticed you in class and been like, oh, there's the pro-life girl, or I don't know, like, have they said anything, or is it just kind of, no discussion about it in public?
No, we're actually in person. Like our school decided to have like the first year and the sophomore in person for the first semester, and the second semester is the juniors and sophomore. The juniors and seniors. And actually, I feel like the internet gives people this type of like, I don't know, this strength that they don't have in real life. But actually, because in real life, a lot of people have been really nice and very friendly. No one has been extremely rude or aggressive in real life. It's just the internet gives, I don't know, people have a thing to hide against, and they can just be mean and cruel.
Yeah, I think the day after I posted our post on Facebook, I was really worried about, in class, would people look at me strangely? And I did get a few strange looks, not like very judgmental or anything, but for the first time in my life, I was grateful for face masks because not a lot of people could recognize me. But the people who did, the people who actually, brought the topic up first voluntarily to me, they were the ones who were like, I'm so sorry for the response you got. That was not the right way. They'll say, I don't necessarily agree with you, but I don't, agree that anyone should be calling each other that kind of name or responding to anyone in that way. So a lot of people who actually talked about, who, mentioned this whole, this organization that we're trying to start, they were the ones who were, very supportive and kind, like Diese said, it wasn't anyone who wanted to pick a fight with us face to face. So.
Yeah, that's really nice. It's not like how it's been on some other campuses. So if I can ask each of you then, why are you pro-life? What's your reason?
I'll go first. For me, first is like my faith. I believe like the Bible is very clear on the sanctity of life. Like God creates everyone for a reason and for a purpose. But also over the last couple of years, I really researched into like personhood and like the field of development of a child, and has really reaffirmed my stance against abortion.
My faith is also part of it, but I only started getting into that a couple years ago. And even before that, I remember being like kind of pro-life. I often heard like this thing people always say that the science is undecided on when life begins. But I realized that when people say this, they're not talking about life, they're talking about their personal philosophical concept of like when someone gets a soul. And like you can question that all you want, but the science that life begins at conception is 100% decided. I study biology in every class. The first lesson is the definition of life. And it's a biological fact that at conception, a unique human life comes into the world. And I'm a very like logic oriented person. And so I just thought about it and I was like, it's simply wrong to kill another human. It's against our human nature. And the age of that human doesn't justify killing it. We were all a fetus at one point. And what really tipped me over to get more into it recently is learning about the corruption in the abortion industry and how it's definitely in the best interest of a lot of powerful people and industries to have this abortion on demand because they can make money and it gives them an excuse not to put more resources towards solving the underlying issues that cause unplanned pregnancies, which is a big problem.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? I'm sure for a lot of people that's kind of new to them.
Yeah, well, we actually have a room named after Margaret Sanger, and she is confirmed to be a eugenicist, and she was very racist, and she founded Planned Parenthood. And there's been a lot of people who worked at Planned Parenthood to reveal that they pressure women into getting abortions because that's how they make their money. They don't make money off of adoption referrals. And so whenever you have, money on the line, it's bound to become corrupt. And plenty of women have testified that they felt pressured into getting an abortion by these industries.
Yeah, and if I could just add one thing too, like on this channel, actually, I've talked to a female pro-life activist, and she talked about how when she had her abortion a few, years back, her family, her surrounding community, the people around her just almost kind of pressured her into it, but it was more like they just told her she had no other option. There was nothing else she could do. She wasn't given the other pro-life resources. And then, when other pro-life resources try to get recognized, all sorts of things happen. Their legality is questioned, and women really are being kind of cornered into a choice that they are told empowers them.
Yeah, one of my favorite quotes is that the cry of most women who got an abortion is that I had no choice, which is ironic because the whole movement is called pro-choice.
Mm-hmm. So, Lizzie, what about you? Why are you pro-life?
Yeah, I really see abortion as a life or death matter. And like Fadi said, I really believe in the Bible in Psalm 139:13 when it says that God formed us and knitted us together in our mother's wombs. And God is very intentional with this. And it's not our choice to end the lives of millions of innocent, helpless babies. And I think it was Gandhi who once said, the true measure of any society can be found in how it treats its most vulnerable members. And who is more vulnerable than an unborn baby, right? Who completely helpless, and if their lives are ended, then they don't even get a chance at life. And who will come to their defense if not us and those who really believe in preserving their lives. So yeah, that's why I'm pro-life.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes pro-choice advocates will say, "Okay, you're focusing so much on the unborn child, but it's just maybe it's a clump of cells or whatever the catchphrase is, right?" And then they'll say, "You're being anti-woman." So let's just kind of get that out of the way, right? Because obviously, all three of you are pro-life women. You don't believe that it's an anti-woman movement. So how would you try to make the case to someone who says, "No, being pro-life is anti-woman"?
So I would ask, like, isn't it anti-woman to abort like female babies? We got found stats like in 2017, about 862,000 abortions were performed in the U.S. And if roughly like half of the population is women, we can like assume like 431,000 of those could be female babies. And that like really does not support the argument that it's pro-women if you're aborting like female babies. And a lot of the time, abortion, like you said, is like weaponized against women by like people in their lives who don't believe they should have their children. That could be their boyfriend, their parents, friends, and those who like conduct abortion. And it doesn't really seem like a choice. You're pressuring the women into it. And like there are pro-life organizations who are geared towards helping women who find themselves in this situation. They offer the women emotional support and financial support and other types of support, so they don't feel like um, this is their only choice in those situations. They have the opportunity to choose life, and ultimately that isn't anti-women at all. It's giving them all the options available to them so that they can choose life for their baby and have a better life for themselves.
Yeah, and I add to that, I think that childbirth is the one thing that, only women can do that. And I think it's what makes us so special and unique. And so it's almost as if they're trying to take away the sanctity of childbirth and treat it like an inconvenience and call fetuses parasites. And I think that's like an attack on womanhood in a way.
Lizzie, do you have anything to add to that?
Um, I think they covered it really. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people in those Facebook comments would just come out and say you're anti-woman. They would kind of go at us like that, and I really don't think that has. I think that just brings up an irrelevant debate, which I don't think supports their point. I feel like if people who are pro-choice look more into it, they'll realize that it doesn't actually. And then a lot of people in places all over the world, especially I just know a lot of Asian cultures, they prefer boys over girls. So if they find the sex of the baby and then they realize it's a girl, they'll be more likely to abort the girl and then choose the boy, right? Which in the end just creates more males in the world, and that doesn't support an anti-woman. I mean, that is not anti-woman at all. So I think yeah, I don't think that's a very smart argument.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, going back to what Clarissa said about, I think she mentioned something about how the pro-choice movement seems to almost have something against femininity in some way, right? If we can put it that way. If that had, I think that's been canceled already, but frame it in that sense, right? It seems to me that for a lot of, at least the original pro-life activists, like Susan B. Anthony, who were women, they were pro-life because they recognized that abortion allowed men to remove that responsibility of fatherhood, allowed them to use women in that way, and that the abortion industry was just facilitating that kind of behavior. And I've noticed that in a lot of the research that I've been doing in the background on this issue, it seems as if a lot of pro-choice advocates, they say, they imagine like an old white man who's making the decision, or they say, why should a group of men make the decision about what a woman does with her body, or something like that. It seems as if this all goes back to something like they believe something went wrong with like masculinity itself, or like men have failed in some way. So I'm interested in what you would say the role of men is in all this. And I know this wasn't on script, but it's just something that kind of came up in my head. So what do you think men should be doing in the background as you women kind of, I mean, I know that both men and women are leading the movement, but I really think we need to show like women. I think there was actually a study that like showed that more women were pro-life than men, right? I think it was the Pew Research or it was a Pew poll or something like that. So what do you think men should do in the pro-life movement? What's our responsibility?
Well, I think first of all, no man should ever feel uncomfortable saying his opinion on this just because he's a man. That's silly to me because this issue impacts everyone. And I think that having abortion in the way we do now, it gives women a reason to expect less from the men around them. I just question like why when a woman gets pregnant is the first assumption that the man will not be a capable father. And I think that there's just a lot of division between the two genders. But this is one place we can come together. So yeah, just don't be scared to say your opinion. I don't know specifically.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great answer. I think, Lizzie, are you about to say something?
Oh, yes, I agree with Clarissa. I just think that, there's so many different ways. I'm not going to go through every situation, but there's so many ways that, circumstances happen and a baby is conceived. And I think that, men should be, men and women should be responsible in any situation for whether it was, unplanned, or it was a mistake, or it was some, I don't know, darker circumstances. I think that, as human beings, we should have that kind of maturity and that owning up to, when something like this happens, that, it's both the men and women's responsibility. So I think it's not like just because it happens in a woman's body that men are completely not part of the topic. No, they're definitely part of this topic. And like you said, there's lots of men who are pro-choice and I mean pro-life too. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, with that, then I think we can move on to the next question on the script, right? Which was, what can we do to make society more pro-life? And I mean, I'm sure that all of you have different takes on this. Some people might say, I want to hear the policy, right? Or they might say something, like I'm sure all of you have seen the meme where it's like, there's one kid who's like drowning, and it's like, kids in the foster care system. And there's like a mom who's like paying attention to another kid, right? And it's like pro-life people with their kids or whatever, and it's supposed to kind of, I guess, attack our character and say like, oh, you guys say you're pro-life, but you don't actually do anything for women, right? So what can we do as a society? What are some practical things that we can do to actually help make the society more pro-life?
Well, I think it's silly when people say that, because most of the organizations that are trying to tackle like foster care reform and trying to make adoption more accessible and less expensive are, Christian charities or pro-life organizations. And so I think we're already moving towards focusing on trying to create resources for women so that they don't feel like abortion is their only option. And I also think, just like on a person-to-person level, we need to be more outspoken, but also kind of modernize the discussion. I want to try to break the stereotype that all pro-lifers are like conservative and Christian, so that we are more welcoming to everyone and it's just less of like a polarized issue. Also, utilizing social media is a big thing. Our generation basically lives online, so trying to get the word out that way will help to make society more pro-life. And I also think that a lot of young people's ideologies are very like emotion-based rather than logic-based. So when I talk to people, I find it helps to lead with more like easy to understand emotional arguments, like asking things like, do you think late-term abortion is moral? What about partial birth abortions? What about sex-selective abortions happening in places like China and India? What about the post-abortion trauma that many women have to face? And this type of questioning really gets at their like emotions, and it impacts them and gets them thinking for themselves. And also just being compassionate in the cause and coming from a place of genuinely wanting to help people rather than judging them is important.
All right. I mean, does anyone else have anything to add to Clarissa's statement?
I think Clarissa kind of covered everything. I would definitely agree. Coming from a place of compassion is huge, especially in our politicized world in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Like just not coming from a place where you're attacking them or like judging or shaming anyone. You're really compassionate and you're here to help. And like presenting, a lot of women are really scared in these situations, presenting them the resources and letting them know like there's someone they can rely on to help them through this. Not just telling them, to keep their child and not providing them with anything to help them sustain it like through the pregnancy and afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we should just be a lot more open and brave about bringing up these topics, because I feel like I almost feel like it's hip and cool and it's in to be pro-choice. And I've even seen advertisements for movies that are like kind of glorifying the abortion process, or teenage girls on these road trips to go get an abortion. That kind of, they make it fun and like appealing for this generation. And I feel like so many younger people who watch these kind of movies, or they just, that's all they know, that's all they see. If they don't go out of their way to look for to read up more on this issue, then that's all they see, the entertainment world that really kind of brainwashes people who don't know. So I feel like we just need to be more vocal about this, and to whether it's making movies about this, or if it's just just bringing it up so it's not such a taboo topic. And I feel like kind of bringing it out from, where everyone just sweeps it under the rug. I feel like that will help make society more pro-life and not just society being dominated by the pro-choice people. So, yeah.
And I guess I'll close with this question then. What do you hope to accomplish with your group? Are you, I think for a lot of you, it seems as if you're trying to just have that dialogue that people haven't really engaged with. And you're trying to show like, no, the pro-life movement is not, old white conservative men, whatever, in suits. I don't know what they say nowadays, right? But it's not that. You guys really are the face in some way of the pro-life movement. So what do you hope to accomplish?
Yeah, I think our main goal is first just to be an active presence on our campus to, like you said, just represent this side of the reproductive debate and show that there are pro-life supporters on campus. Yeah, our school always teaches us to speak up, to not be silenced, to build community and lift each other up. And despite all that talk, there's really a culture of fear on this campus that is stifling. So, and no one is willing to voice the unpopular opinion because they know that the loudest voices that dominate our school will tear them down. So we just want to practice what our college preaches. We want to use our voice and make a difference, no matter how difficult and intimidating and discouraging it is. And we want to meet other students who are also pro-life, students who are not pro-life, students who are unsure about where they stand on this issue. And we just want to create that safe space to have civil conversations with fellow students.
Yeah, and we've been having like all these crazily amazing opportunities come to us. Like we're planning on having a speaker come later. We were offered to share our story in a pro-life magazine. And of course, this podcast. And so far, even though we're not recognized, we've had 2 amazing meetings, and our members come from all over the world, from every class year. And we just have really good discussions about pro-life topics. And we really have a strong bond because it's so nice to finally meet like-minded people. And there's this relief of finally being able to open up and speak honestly. And it's brought me a lot of happiness. So we just want to keep that up.
Yeah, but in the future, we do hope to do like more service work and like host fun events on campus and maybe collab with other pro-life orgs nearby. But unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we are very limited to what we can do. But we hope to use this time to build a sense of community like with that and really practicing like building up our arguments and being really strong in what we believe in, so that when like post-pandemic we have a strong base to go forward.
All right. Well, I want to thank all of you. Or actually, Lizzie, were you going to say something? Didn't want to interrupt you.
No.
All right. I was just going to say, yeah, I'm just really thankful that you guys came onto the show. And I think it's really good for a lot of my audience, men and women of all sorts of backgrounds. There are liberals who really enjoy the channel itself because they get this kind of perspective. And I'm hoping that, to actually put a face or even a voice to what the pro-life movement is, that's something really important for people to see, that you guys really are the future of the movement. And you guys are trying to show the entire world, right, that there are still people who believe in intrinsic human dignity and value. And that, at the end of the day, it's not really about politics. At the end of the day, it's not about our ego. At the end of the day, it's not about, posting things on social media and getting attention. It's about the life that's at stake and the dignity of both the child and the woman. And I think that's something really beautiful and something that you really manifest. So I'll be praying for you guys. I'll try to message the my intellectual conservatism community and see if there's just anybody who can help, or any way that I can help. Just let me know in the future. Ladies, thank you so much for this conversation tonight.
Thank you so much for making the time to have us. We really enjoyed it.